If you know basketball bad boy Dennis Rodman, you know to expect the unexpected.
This is what held us together when Scotty was up. He had to really focus.
Dennis Rodman earned over $27 million playing basketball. He won 5 championships. He is in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He was just inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Present the Master Lock NBA Defensive Player of the Year Award to Dennis Rodman.
His daughter is the highest paid female soccer player on the planet. And as of 2026, Dennis Rodman's estimated net worth is $500,000.
He looks how he wants, he dresses how he wants, he is
Sweet.
Not 50 million, not 5 million, 500,000. So what on earth happened?
Dennis Rodman, once again, was nowhere to be found.
Is it true that Dennis wasn't at practice today? That's true.
Today, we are going to crack open the full, unfiltered, utterly insane story of why Dennis Rodman disappeared from the spotlight. Let's get into it. The broken beginning, from abandoned to the NBA, before the tattoos, before the rainbow hair, before the wedding dresses and the North Korea trips and the Las Vegas blackouts, there was a scrawny broken kid in Dallas, Texas who had absolutely nothing. Dennis Keith Rodman was born on May 13, 1961 in Trenton, New Jersey. His father, a man literally named Philander, abandoned the family when Dennis was just 3 years old. Over the following years, Philander went on to father dozens of children across the world, eventually settling in the Philippines. Dennis would later claim he has over 40 half-siblings. 40, and he never knew a single one of them. His mother, Shirley, worked multiple jobs to keep the lights on, raising Dennis and his 2 sisters completely alone in one of the poorest neighborhoods in South Oak Cliff, Dallas. Here's what makes this early part of the story particularly brutal. His 2 sisters were dominant high school basketball stars, local legends. Meanwhile, Dennis, at 5'6" and barely 140 pounds, could not even make the squad. The kid who would one day win 7 consecutive rebounding titles could not crack a high school basketball roster. After graduation, Shirley kicked him out. He bounced around, eventually landing a job as an overnight janitor at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, sleeping in cars. No plan, no future, no father. And then, something almost magical happened. Dennis Rodman grew nearly a foot. Practically overnight, he shot up to 6'8". His body had finally caught up to whatever it was supposed to be. A family friend connected him to a small Texas college, and he enrolled at Southeastern Oklahoma State University, where he averaged 25.7 points and 15.7 rebounds per game. He was named a 3-time NAIA All-American.
This is what held us together when Scotty was up. He had to really focus.
The kid who swept airport floors was suddenly a prospect. In 1986, the Detroit Pistons took him in the 2nd round of the NBA draft. The janitor was now an NBA player, from homeless to the league. You genuinely cannot make that up. The Bad Boys and the birth of a legend, Detroit was the perfect home for Dennis Rodman. Hard, relentless, uncompromising, mean. The Bad Boy Pistons, led by Isaiah Thomas and coached by the legendary Chuck Daly, were everything the NBA was not supposed to be. They were despised, they were feared, they were champions.
June 13, 1989, the Pistons won their first NBA championship.
Under Chuck Daly, Rodman became something the league had never quite seen before. A defensive specialist who could guard every single position on the floor, from point guard to center, without breaking a sweat. Isaiah Thomas once said, "Dennis was a machine. In Detroit, he was a machine, man, and he could guard anybody on the floor." Rodman earned 2 NBA Defensive Player of the Year awards with the Pistons.
Present the Master Lock NBA Defensive Player of the Year Award to Dennis Rodman.
And was a core piece of the back-to-back championships in 1989 and 1990. But his success on the court masked the chaos building underneath. When Chuck Daly retired, something broke in Dennis. Daly had filled the fatherly void that had existed since he was 3 years old, and without him, Rodman was suddenly adrift again. The Pistons traded him to the San Antonio Spurs, and this is where the real Dennis Rodman was born. The dyed hair, the piercings, the tattoos, the late arrivals, the suspension after suspension. His time in San Antonio was a roller coaster. He averaged 17.3 rebounds per game in 1994, which is an absolutely absurd number, and yet the Spurs could barely contain him. He clashed with coaches, fought teammates, disappeared when it mattered most. His relationship with David Robinson was nearly non-existent. Rodman himself said, "He didn't like me at all. I wasn't the church-going guy, and David Robinson called me the devil. The Spurs eventually gave up and did the unthinkable. They traded Dennis Rodman to the Chicago Bulls. The man who had practically invented the Jordan rules as a Piston was now going to play alongside Michael Jordan. The Bulls dynasty and the madness within it. Here is the thing almost nobody talks about. When Dennis Rodman arrived in Chicago to join Jordan and Scottie Pippen in 1995, he was already over $1 million in debt. His $2.5 million salary had already been wiped out by spending sprees, Vegas trips, alimony payments, and car loans. His agent, Dwight Manley, famously described his job this way: basically, Dennis is Fort Knox, and I'm the guy at the gate making sure people pay for the gold bricks before leaving. Manley put him on a $1,000 weekly budget, $1,000 a week, for an NBA superstar. But once the Bulls' machine started rolling, nothing else mattered. Rodman hauled in nearly 15 rebounds per game in his first season, helped the Bulls go 72-10, a then NBA record, and won the championship in 1996, then again in 1997. Then again in 1998, 3 rings in 3 years. The Dennis gamble had paid off spectacularly, and in the middle of the 1998 finals, with the title on the line, Rodman walked into Phil Jackson's office and said he needed a vacation in Vegas. Phil Jackson somehow said yes to a 48-hour window. Michael Jordan begged him not to let Dennis go, saying, "Phil, you let this dude go to Vegas, we're definitely not going to see him." And just like MJ predicted, Rodman did not come back on time. Jordan himself had to go to Vegas and physically drag him out of his hotel room. He later admitted, "There's a knock on the door. It's Michael Jordan." And I hid. I hid behind the couch with covers over me. That is Dennis Rodman, getting dragged out of Vegas by the GOAT during the NBA Finals, and then going out and locking down Karl Malone to win the championship anyway. The spending, cars, clubs, and pure chaos. So what does a man with zero financial discipline and millions of dollars actually do with the money? Everything. Every wild, reckless, gloriously chaotic thing you can imagine. The cars alone were staggering. Rodman drove a custom Lamborghini Gallardo, painted with gold flakes, and a portrait of himself flanked by flames, worth $165,000. He had a Porsche 993 Turbo at over $100,000, an $800,000 Hummer H1. That is over $1 million in vehicles before we even get to the houses. His agent Dwight Manley noted that Rodman had a habit of dropping around $30,000 per trip to Las Vegas. The worm was supposed to stay in Vegas for a few days and ended up spending 5 weeks. 5 weeks. Manley also mentioned that Rodman once won $72,000 in a single night at the casino and still did not save any of it. And then there were the parties. Rodman once converted the bottom unit of a duplex in Newport Beach into his own private nightclub, Club 4809. He claimed the police were called on him at least 80 times at that address. His 40th birthday party brought over 200 guests in by helicopter with 2 live rock bands and a noise violation bill that cost him thousands. His own agent once threw up his hands and said he makes $2.5 million a year and doesn't save a penny. Rodman himself confirmed it with one of the most beautifully reckless quotes in sports history: "I never counted money. If I had it, I spent it." And he absolutely did. Every last dollar of it. The fines alone paint a picture. After kicking a referee in the groin in 1997, he was fined $200,000 and suspended 11 games, costing him a total of $1 million in lost earnings for one single kick. He got a 6-game suspension and another $200,000 fine for headbutting a ref in 1996. There was a $20,000 fine for skipping a Bulls practice to go film a WCW segment with Hulk Hogan during the NBA Finals. By 2003, the IRS was suing him for $1.2 million in unpaid back taxes, and in 2011, he was arrested in Texas for failing to pay over $250,000 in child support. Talk about a financial meltdown. The scam, Peggy Ann Fulford, and the ultimate betrayal. But here is where things get genuinely dark, because not all of Dennis Rodman's financial destruction was self-inflicted. A massive chunk of his remaining fortune was stolen by someone he completely trusted. Enter Peggy Ann Fulford, a woman Rodman met through a mutual friend in the mid-2000s. They developed an extremely close relationship, so close that at his 2011 Basketball Hall of Fame induction, Rodman thanked her publicly, calling her family. He said her name in front of the whole world as someone who had cared for him, and the entire time, she was robbing him blind.
Peggy King, Elton King, the family that these guys are taking care of me these days. Thank you, Peggy.
Fulford told Rodman and other athletes like Ricky Williams that she had degrees from Harvard Law School and Harvard Business School, that she had made millions on Wall Street. None of it was real. Not one word. She was operating dozens of bank accounts, moving money around in a labyrinth of transfers designed to hide where it was all going, directly into her own pocket. The moment Rodman first suspected something was wrong was when the electricity in his Florida condo got shut off, a bill she was supposed to be paying. That is when the investigation started. A federal judge handed Fulford a 120-month prison sentence, that is 10 years, and ordered her to pay $5,794,870 in restitution to her victims. Dennis Rodman lost over $1 million directly to her fraud. And the punchline? Peggy Fulford has since been released from her 10-year prison sentence, having served approximately 5 years. She is out. Rodman never got his money back, and he never expected to. The bottle, a decade-long battle with alcohol. Here is a brutal truth. The partying did not stop when the paychecks did. For a long stretch of his post-NBA life, alcohol became the central force shaping every relationship, every decision, every public appearance. His teammate John Sally once revealed that Rodman did not even take his first sip of alcohol until he was 32 years old. Then it hit him like a freight train, and by the time he was in Chicago, things were already spinning out of control. From alcohol to all-night parties, endless women, media outbursts, and complete disappearing acts, Rodman was everywhere and nowhere at once. By 2014, following one of his trips to North Korea, Rodman checked into a rehabilitation facility. His agent at the time, Darren Prince, publicly stated that Rodman had been drinking heavily to an extent that none of us had seen before. In 2018, he was arrested for a DUI with a blood alcohol content of 0.21. That is more than 2.5 times the legal limit. And when asked in an interview how many times he had been to jail overall, Rodman did not hesitate. He said, "I say over 100 times in jail, over 100 goddamn times," and then laughed. Over 100 arrests in a lifetime. The interviewer was stunned. Dennis just laughed. There are signs he has been trying to turn a corner. Reports from around 2024 and 2025 indicate Rodman significantly cut back on alcohol, which he credited with helping him lose around 30 pounds and improve his energy and clarity. He reportedly started working with trainers again. Real, measurable progress. For a man who nearly drank himself to death, that is not nothing. That matters enormously. The North Korea chapter, basketball diplomat or propaganda tool. And then there is the chapter in Rodman's life that completely defies any rational explanation. Kim Jong-un. Yes, that Kim Jong-un. The most dangerous, most isolated dictator on the planet. Dennis Rodman's unlikely best friend.
Basketball Hall of Famer Dennis Rodman arriving in Pyongyang on his 5th trip to North Korea.
It started in 2013 when Rodman traveled to North Korea for what he believed was a quick exhibition game. His agent apparently missed the detail that it was North Korea, not South Korea, until the contract was already signed. But instead of backing out, Rodman shrugged and got on the plane. What he found there shocked him. 20,000 North Koreans filling a stadium to watch basketball. And then a small man walked in, and the entire place erupted. Rodman's immediate reaction was priceless. He said, "Who is that little guy right there?" Holy cow. They told him it was the supreme leader. And somehow, against all logic, the two men clicked. They sang karaoke. They went skiing. They rode horses. Rodman defended the friendship openly, saying, "The people over there are not bad people." He called it basketball diplomacy. He genuinely believed he was building bridges. Members of Congress, the NBA, and human rights organizations were not impressed. Many argued he had become a public relations tool for one of the world's most repressive governments. And the craziest part? There is a real argument that Rodman's friendship with Kim actually accomplished something tangible. Rumor has it that one of Rodman's tweets directly contributed to the release of an American prisoner from North Korean custody. The man who sang happy birthday to a dictator on international television may have also quietly helped free a hostage. Truth is genuinely stranger than fiction, and nobody embodies that truth more completely than Dennis Keith Rodman. The financial reality, $500,000. Let us put everything in stark, uncomfortable perspective. Michael Jordan's net worth today, $2.1 billion. Scottie Pippen, somewhere between 30 and 50 million. As of 2026, Dennis Rodman holds an estimated net worth of about $500,000. $500,000, not $5 million, not $50 million, 0.5% of what he earned. Over his career, Rodman earned more than $27 million in salary, a figure that climbs past $43 million after adjusting for inflation. Rodman lost much of that money through an expensive lifestyle, ongoing legal issues, and heavy child support payments. And then Peggy Fulford took whatever was left. His former agent, Dwight Manley, eventually gave the most heartbreaking quote about the whole saga. He recalled a moment backstage where Rodman was in tears, begging for help. He said Dennis was crying so hard the snot was pouring out of his nose, pleading, "I'm going to lose everything, please, please help me." Manley told him to call him when he was ready to make the first step. He never called. Manley would later say, "He's just a shadow of what he was. It breaks my heart." These days, Rodman relies on his lasting appeal as a pop culture and fashion figure.
I could have been homeless. I was homeless. And a lot of you guys here that's been here.
His current income primarily comes from public appearances, licensing agreements, documentaries, royalties, and media projects. The brand of Dennis Rodman, the tattoos, the chaos, the hair, the persona, still has real market value. He is not destitute. He is not on the street. But the gap between what he earned and what he has left should leave every single one of us speechless. Trinity. The Rodman name is rising again. Now, if there is one story in all of this that flips the script and gives you genuine hope, it is this one. Dennis may have watched his fortune crumble, but his daughter Trinity is doing something extraordinary. The Washington Spirit re-signed Trinity Rodman to a record 3-year contract in January 2026, with an annual salary of over $2 million per year. Trinity Rodman became the highest paid player in the history of the National Women's Soccer League and the highest paid female soccer player in the world, according to her agent Mike Sankowski of Upper 90 Sports Group, the highest paid female soccer player on the planet at just 23 years old. Let that sink in. She helped the Spirit win the NWSL Championship in 2021 and an Olympic gold medal in 2024. She became the youngest player in league history to reach 50 career goal contributions. The contrast could not be more striking. While her father was blowing through millions, drowning in child support battles, and checking into rehab, his daughter was quietly making history. Dennis has spoken publicly about wanting to be present for his kids. He said, "I want to be around to see my kids grow up. I know I have to take care of myself to do that." And for perhaps the first time in a very long time, Dennis Rodman has something bigger than basketball, bigger than Vegas, bigger than North Korea to actually hold it together for. That is not a small thing. That might be everything. 2026, 2 Hall of Fames and a jersey retirement. And just when you might be ready to count Dennis Rodman out entirely, 2026 delivers something remarkable. 2 massive historic honors in the same calendar year. Dennis Rodman had his jersey retired by the Chicago Bulls. The Hall of Famer and defensive legend was honored against the Brooklyn Nets, with the '96 Bulls team in attendance. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen were expected to be there to celebrate a man who was a huge reason the Bulls were so successful. Number 91 going up to the United Center rafters, the same organization that fined him, suspended him, and watched him disappear to Vegas in the middle of the finals, raising his number to the ceiling. His number 10 with Detroit is already up there. Now Chicago follows. That is a beautiful, full-circle moment. And then, weeks later, Rodman entered pro wrestling immortality at the 2026 Hall of Fame ceremony on April 17th in Las Vegas as part of WrestleMania 42 week. Rodman entered WWE's celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame, joining the likes of Muhammad Ali, Pete Rose, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Mike Tyson. In March 1997, while still a member of the Chicago Bulls, Rodman began appearing on World Championship Wrestling television alongside Hollywood Hulk Hogan as part of the New World Order faction. He joined the NWO in 1997 and remained in the group for more than a year, main eventing 2 pay-per-view shows as part of a tag team with Hogan. The 1998 Bash at the Beach show, in which Hogan and Rodman defeated Diamond Dallas Page and Karl Malone in the main event, was the second most purchased pay-per-view in WCW history. Not everyone was happy about the WWE induction. Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, was sharp about it. He said, "He wasn't a wrestler. You're gonna put a guy who might have been in a wrestling ring 2 or 3 times in the Hall of Fame just because of his name? Put him in the Basketball Hall of Fame where he belongs, but not the Wrestling Hall of Fame." And honestly, fair critique. But Dennis Rodman has never played by anyone's rules ever in any arena. Why would he start now? 2 Hall of Fames, a jersey retirement, a daughter making history, and $500,000 left from $27 million earned. That is the story of Dennis Rodman in 2026. Complicated, heartbreaking, hilarious, and completely one of a kind. Which part of his story hit you the hardest? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Hoops Rivals so you don't miss the next ones.